Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with American Scouser on a Thursday morning. The day after, basically. Hold on, let's brighten the world up over here. Daffy is in the house because it is a Thursday, and he has made Thursdays his own, if you will. Yeah, let's drink some coffee and let's talk about what the heck happened yesterday. Hopefully with more cooler heads. I actually thought having seen the post match afterwards and having seen some of the comments on it, we somehow had really cooler heads, especially when you consider how the game ended and how it went and stuff like that. Actually, that's pretty darn composed, I thought, even for Sir Z. I mean, especially Sir Z was there and he was the calmest somehow. So look, there's a bunch of things to look at, so not a lot of news anyway. I mean, obviously most of the news is regarding yesterday. The worst news coming out is the fact that Gomez's injury is pretty darn serious and could require surgery. The problem with that becomes, thank God Trent is back, even though we saw his defensive action again yesterday. But Trent is back. I think he was missed yesterday in terms of being able to build play. It felt like whenever the ball went to the right hand side, we needed somebody to be able to do the diagonal from the right hand side to Gakpo, and I just don't. We did not use Gakpo much in that game at all because I don't think we have someone who can do the diagonal from the right hand side. Bradley's not going to attempt it to a fault. I think Trent would attempt it and get it over there. Whereas Konate, that's not really his strength. And then I think that's one thing that if Konate is going to be, and I know everybody's picking on him about the goals and stuff like that, but if Konate is going to be like the center back and we are going to pay him a lot of money, I mean, I think we're going to pay him a lot of money either way, but that's one aspect of the game that he has to improve in terms of being able to pass through the lines and send that diagonal over. I mean, spend some time with Van Dijk and learn the opposite direction kind of a deal. But anywho, the Gomez being out kind of brings you down to like three. Good morning, Serzi. Three center backs, which is kind of scary. The right back situation, at least, with Trent being back, is sorted because at one point we were down to one right back as well. But I think we're fine there. I mean, look, you're going to have injuries. You're probably going to have more injuries once these 4 games are over, right? The good thing is I was looking at the schedule because I read this somewhere and I was like, no way. But it is way. In terms of like the games we have coming up, let me pull that up over here real quick. But in terms of like we've been focusing on, as we probably should, the immediate fixtures coming up and stuff like that. But when you look at this, let's pull it up over here. There we go. The City, Liverpool, Newcastle. We kind of like talked up to here, right? Up to the Newcastle game. I know why we stopped there. Obviously, like there is that break in like almost like 10 days now that we have a break. And it'll be the Southampton game. And that's the only game in March. That just seems, I'm assuming the final is in March sometime, isn't it? I know there's the international break there, but I thought that was going to be, that's a huge gap there. So you will probably come with some injuries and knocks and stuff like that from this tough period of playing like 5 games in 15 days or whatever. But the good news is that you're going to have weeks and weeks of, being able to recover from it. So the Gomez injury is still, though, any injury news is obviously that's good news, unless it's Havertz's injury, then it's good news. But no, I just can't stand the dude. I don't know. Sometimes, like, I know it's like not right or maybe wrong to like wish. I never like wish on an injury, but there are some guys, it's almost like they have it coming, if you will. That probably sounds harsh, but it is what it is. Really, I did not know that. I can never keep up with that. Because I'm not like religious. I've talked about this in the past over here. But I usually follow it through, obviously back home. Like it will be like Ramadan, and obviously it affects us in this sense. Probably the only way it like really affects my life at this stage. But March, that's about a month, right? So I guess that's good timing because I know it's always like a talking point. I almost feel like a pro player like Mo at this stage. Hey, look, if you're ever fasted, and I have, that's rough. I think more than the food part, is the drinking part that's rough, the dehydration part. It's like it's very difficult, especially if you're doing what these guys are doing. It is very difficult. But the I would think like if I did it now, I would probably pass out, right? But I would think somebody like Mo and Konate and stuff, who's done the fasting as they play throughout, they almost like know how to do it and not let it affect them too much and stuff like that. There's always like a huge hoopla about. It is the same thing, honestly, back home too, because obviously there's like more players doing the fasting, but there's always a hoopla where people are waiting for a poor performance to kind of like blame the Ramadan and stuff like that. But the core and Arteta can both get injured, adding Gabriel. Yeah, my list, I don't have Gabriel on that list yet. The core, hey, look, I was going to. It's easy. The first 2 days are hard. Really, I see. That's kudos to you, man. I mean, I honestly look. It's been decades since I fasted. To be fair, so I was a young man. So maybe I don't know. I mean, I was probably like school and stuff like that. I honestly, it's been that long. I don't remember. Definitely, I wasn't here. I can tell you that. So this is like high school days or something like that. And I've done it like maybe like a handful of days, 10 days the most, or something like that, probably. And yeah, the most challenging thing. I mean, the physically the tough part is the dehydration. The most challenging thing is helping set the freaking table up as you kind of like approach it. Psychologically, that's the hardest parts where you're like, God dang it. Because you're kind of like waiting. There's like 20 minutes left, 25 minutes left. I remember that from like way back, like being like a kid kind of a thing. That's kind of torturous because obviously there's a lot of food being made and you're taking all the stuff that's you're freaking starving and you're taking all the stuff to the table, like like getting you ready, like helping like mom and stuff like that. And it's just like you're like, God dang, it's like, can we start eating already, kind of a deal. I remember that's probably the hardest part. I remember from those days, to be honest with you. But yeah, I guess like in time ways, that timing is good, not having a lot of games while Mo and Kanate are fasting. That's the good thing. But let's go back to the Cora thing. Honestly, there are some winners from yesterday, and I think probably the biggest winner is Curtis Jones, which is really odd to say, but I see online the love that Curtis Jones gets that he does not get when he plays a good game somehow, is just like mind-boggling. But I hate to say it, I did like what he did. And I know he saw a red card. So what? He's going to be out for the Wolves game. I think for his career and his status is probably the best red card he'll ever get. So I thought, the way he reacted. Look, I remember, if you guys go back, the United game, I think it's the 5-0 game, right? And I remember, like if you watch this, if you watch like these like watch along clips and stuff like that afterwards, and that's what brought the attention to me. Remember that's moments where Ronaldo like kicks out. Curtis Jones actually is the one involved. Curtis is on the ground. He's like kicking the ball, basically kicking more than one ball, because Curtis Jones is down and the ball is like right in his like basically like his stomach because he's on the ground and he's like kicking at the ball like full speed and stuff like that. And I remember like a fight breaks out, obviously, and all the Liverpool players get there, but there's nobody from United. They basically just leave. Probably they don't like Ronaldo, but they need Ronaldo hanging. I think when something like that happens and people react together, that's oddly a bonding moment in some ways, and it shows unity and stuff like that. For him to go and kind of stick up for the away fans, I don't know. I'm all for that. I'm all okay with that. And I think a lot of fans are, and that's why he's getting more credits and praise today than he ever did, even after his best games. So good on him to be able to do that. And then other players to go over there and kind of like help the situation afterwards. The slot red card, he has to have said something, right? I mean, that the hard handshake is, there's no way that's what the red card is for. So there has to be something aside from that. He did say something, I would think, as he's like shaking his hand or something like that. But so And I don't know. There's like a lot of rumors. I have not seen the final. If you guys know, let me know how many games and stuff like that. I'm pretty positive that it's not 3 games like a player. The direct record. I actually thought it was like 1 game. And these days, trust me, as a fan who's like, childhood team in Fenerbahce being coached by Mourinho, you kind of get used to your manager constantly getting red cards. And like, what is the difference really? They're like sitting like 5 rows back and they're just, telling them what to do. Slot is not as much of a guy who yells and screams on the sideline. I always felt like it was a bigger difference um, in terms of like Klopp versus Slot, I think in that way, a bit more like energy based system as opposed to a bit more like control based system, I think. But Sparky, good morning, sir. Says Red Slot getting extended ban. He might be getting something for probably not doing a post match. But I think it's like meh. I don't think that's usually a suspension. He'll probably get ducked like 5 grand, 10 grand, whatever the heck it is. I mean, I never understand the money punishments, the financial punishments on people who are like, it's like coming over to me and I'm like, you know what, that's a nickel. It's like, okay, whatever. And then you just throw the nickel at them. So I'm assuming it would be something for that, unless, like I say, we don't know what he said, what's going to be in that report and stuff like that. And look, let's talk about that a little bit. But yeah, Solo says big up Jones. I mean, yeah, I think that's, you want that, especially in your homegrown player. You want that in a Merseyside derby. I don't even care if it wasn't a Merseyside derby. I don't care if you're going away to Wolves or like that. Somebody is going at your away fans that came with you there. You go over there. I mean, going over there and clapping is fine and dandy, but you got to show that you kind of care what those people are there for. So I felt like, yes, I just find it odd that suddenly the biggest Jones haters love Jones, even though he's had some great performances and he was getting slammed for it because he was Jones kind of a deal. But hey, good on him. Like I say, maybe this will help him. Actually, you got to figure like 1 game being odd. He might have actually started the Wolves game or something like that. You never know, but with the number of games we have, he'll probably be starting against Villa now or something like that. So, which I don't know if that's the matchup you want, but either way, that's probably what you'll end up getting because he's going to be banned for this next game over here. But yeah, let's go to Michael Oliver over here. Let's talk about that. And I don't want to get too into it. It was almost like, and that's why it was like a gut punch because number one, that game is freaking over. Okay, I don't care what anybody says, and I'm not making excuses or whatever. I guess you can count it as an excuse, but it is a freaking fact. So you have to still acknowledge the fact that that game was over. Because when that injury happens, there's like 15, 20 seconds left or something like that. 30 seconds at most, right? When the injury happens where Mo is. By the way, if we keep the ball there, if Jota doesn't try to like put the game away with a third goal and be the guy, if he hangs on to the ball, we get the ball once the injury is over, and maybe we're just passing it around and we're just getting rid of it. So that's horribly managed by the boys. That's a different story. But how we played another like 2 minutes after that was over is beyond me when there was like 30 seconds left. Because here's the thing. I know it's a minimum of 5 minutes, but usually the time extended is what happened within those 5 minutes because that sign goes up like right at the end. So it can't be like around the 80th minute. Remember when Ali was doing this? Because Ali did a lot of time killing. I'll give him that. And kudos to him because he was taking like 30, 40 seconds with every goal kick. But the minutes added are supposed to be based on what happened there, mostly. So, and here's the thing. How many times have we had teams come to Anfield, sit on the ball, fall down, hold their head, hold their cheek, all that kind of crap, and we get 3 minutes added? But Oliver over here is so concerned that he keeps adding minutes. I was like, once the clearance came, I was like, done. And honestly, that was probably the last ball that was going into the box. And we did an extremely poor job of clearing it. Why Trent doesn't close down the cross, I don't know. Why we leave Costas in the back with the center back, I don't know. And once again, Costas is just like physically too weak to be doing this job over and over again. We see it, but not that he played a poor game, but I think overall, like physically And so the game is not over. Leave that, right? Let's say, okay, leave all that. The game, how we manage the game, the amount of yellow cards easily given out, the amount of yellow cards that somehow did never come out. And, I go back to that. I think it's the big middle of the first half. It's maybe like the 20th or 25th minute. What's that dude's name? Hold on, I'll tell you guys right now. So I don't butcher his name, but which I can't butcher his name. What do I care? Idrissa Goya, is that whatever his name is? He's not very good, so don't need to learn his name. But he pulls and gets a yellow card earlier in the game. He pulls down Gakpo. I'm pretty sure it was Gakpo. I have to go back and watch it, and Gakpo keeps going. And then, like he plays advantage, which is fine. But this is why players dive. This is why players fall and they stay on the ground. And we're like, oh, he went down too easily. You know what? Because if you do not go down easily, if you do not go down, the guy who does the foul gets away with it. Advantage does not mean the guy who does what he does gets away with it. Advantage means you don't stop the game. You play the advantage because, the attack is still going on. You come back and do something with that. And that should have been a red card. If Gakpo falls there, takes the dive, and doesn't try to kind of like play through the pulling, it's probably a second yellow card. But I just hate it when players get punished for trying to do something that we want them to do. We don't want them like taking dives. We don't want them going down easily. We want them fighting through tackles and stuff like that. But they get freaking punished. They don't get the calls. Look at Mo. So it's just like so annoying that the refs basically set this up for people to hold their face, people to dive, people to like stay on the ground like they got shot and stuff, because that's the only way they get the other player punished. And that's on the refs. I know we keep going at the players on this, and I understand players are professionals. They're going to try to pull stuff regardless, but it all goes to the refs. We talked about this before, I remember, with the Polish Prince on a Monday morning. This is on the refs, because if they did the punishment accordingly, the acting, while some of it might be there, it would be kind of like pointless. So there'll be less of it. But by not, rewarding a guy fighting through a tackle and rewarding a guy taking a dive and just falling like a sack of potatoes, you're encouraging behavior. And it just freaking kills me. I mean, Sparky says some players dive and some want to play the game. But that's what I mean. Like the refs should be rewarding the ones that want to play the game and not the ones that dive. I dove like there's no tomorrow, because that's the guy that gets the call. As a center back, like you go to the corner, you're getting pressured or whatever, you kind of back into it, you wait for contact. The moment there's contact, you fall on the ball and you get the call. People like me shouldn't have been rewarded, but you do that, and because it does get. I taught my daughters this. I've talked about this before. Like, you gotta, and not only that, I've actually taught Jazz when she was playing to kind of like vocalize the contact, not only like just take the contact, because she was like tiny, and like vocalize the contact, let the ref know there's contact there. So even if you didn't see it, you freaking hears it that you got contacted and you got fouled and stuff. But when you encourage that behavior in the pro level, I'm not talking like U12 here, if you like encourage at the pro level, then don't expect players not to dive and stuff like that, or complain about players diving, is I guess my thing. Aaron says no goalie saves. Yeah, I mean, there's no way. He can take that 100 times. He couldn't even believe it, so that it went there. And yeah, I don't put that on. I kind of put some of the. Let me finish Michael Oliver, but like the whole Michael Oliver thing is annoying because the game is so poorly managed. And in games like this, when it's like a merge, you're basically monitoring and reffing more than that's the throw in, blah, blah, blah. You're kind of like trying to control the game. And it was just done so poorly. I thought it was like ridiculous. Peaches is here. Good morning. Hearing Sky 6 clubs complain about the Sky 6 clubs complain about that really makes me happy. This is a normal ref behavior against look, I get that. I think every fan base does this. I mean, I'll speak for Liverpool fan base. I mean, we always act like it's only us getting punished. If you go watch any other fan channel, or if you like, join our panel show on like Tuesday nights, you get that, it's almost like every fan base feels like that, right? They're like, we're like, we were wronged the most. Like, but the sad thing, Peaches, is everybody gets freaking wrong like 24/7. And what happens is the team that kind of gets and we've had a couple of these calls this year. So, make no mistake about that. We've had a couple of calls go our way where we always, when it goes your way, as a fan base, you just are like, well, we deserve that after getting like screwed on that other call and stuff, is how we react to it, right? As a fan. And this is any club. Doesn't matter if you're a Big Six, or like the relegation zone, whatever. And I feel like, heck, in some ways, those teams do get. I wonder, like, okay, I'll ask Peaches, for example. Has VAR helped eliminate some of that? Because it is being reviewed. Like in the past, I feel like that's how VAR. I look back at, like, for example, the Turkish league, because obviously I'm like familiar with that as well. I don't see it as much in the Premier League, but I do definitely see it in the Turkish league, for example. I feel like the gap has closed down because some of the teams on top, which is not even a big six, in Turkey, it's like really a big 2.5. So it's more like closer to the Spanish league, right? And I think we kind of see this in the Spanish league too at times, but I still feel like they get the benefit of the call. I think the gap has closed a little bit because some of these like star players in that play for teams gets calls a lot easier than maybe a team in the relegation zone. So I wonder, like, like people like Peaches or, like fans of other teams. We talk about this on the panel show quite often, in terms of which Peaches, you should come on the panel show, man. We don't have anybody representing Forest. So that'd be great to have. But I do think it has kind of closed the gap a little bit. But what happens is, like, you see this game, I think this game with Michael Oliver is a perfect example of it doesn't have anything to do with VAR. It doesn't really, because it never even, how they impact the game and how they ruin the game with poor management of the fouls and the yellows and stuff. There's nothing VAR can do that. There might be a guy in the VAR room saying like, oh, Michael, what are you doing out there? Kind of a thing. But it does not really go to VAR. It's like taking care of in other ways. We see this in the Turkish league now. There are other ways the ref can help a team. I mean, it's easy as the yellow cards, I feel like, is the easiest. Yesterday, most of the 50-50s went to Everton. And you can call that, home field advantage and stuff like that. But you can, through yellow cards and stuff like that never go to VAR, kind of control how the game is going to say. So, what you get is a pen, we get waved away and it doesn't even get looked at. Really? Yeah, I mean, PGML is horrible for the league that it is. I wonder sometimes, like, is it like so if your comments got deleted by one of the mods on the live chat? Dude, I'm the only mod here right now. I haven't deleted anything. I don't know if you put something that Facebook didn't like, or maybe Michael Oliver's there in the VAR booth. Remove your comments. But yeah, no. Like I say, unless it's YouTube doing it, I'm not doing it. Rosa, good morning. Best player from the bottom half of the table. Really? I did not know this, by the way. One penalty all season, huh? If it was on Diogo, it definitely wasn't Mateusz. I can tell you who edited that. Yeah, I have no idea, man. I don't know if you said something that you should not have said according to YouTube. If you're on YouTube, so I don't know if YouTube, how that works. If YouTube takes off a thing, if you said like something vile or you wished ill on him or something like that. I'm gonna get back to Rosa's thing. By the way, let's finish this game over here, and then we'll do some random chat at the end. But yeah, so I feel like, yes, Michael Oliver had a huge impact on the game, but I still do find it odd, aside from that last whistle thing, because I felt like the game was won if he freaking blows the whistle in terms of playing it on and on. Like, let's let him cross one more time, let's see what happens, kind of thing. But I think in terms of the game, I still do find it hard to just put it all on him. I did feel like we played how Everton wanted us to play. And I think that's probably like the most disappointing part right there. We did not do the cool heads and but not cool legs kind of a thing. We just kind of played their game. There was so much like pinball football happening and stuff like that. And I think if anything that you can be concerned as a Liverpool fan is other teams seeing that. Mind you, there are not a lot of teams like that, but other teams that are seeing this saying, hey, you know what, we can have them play our game and they're not good at our game, because it's not a game, it's basically old school, just kick and chase kind of an ordeal. So I wonder if that is something that is going to be an issue moving forward. Does Wolves look at that and say, hey, that's the best way to do it, not to actually play? I'm not talking about like sitting back or anything like that, but kind of like making the game more of just a physical tussle, rather than it was like more like an old school Premier League game, wasn't it? Like, like, I don't know, go back like 20 years kind of a Premier League game when really the Premier League was not the best league in the world. The best players were not there. It was more about, it was a lot more physical and stuff like that. I mean, I always talk about this, like coming to the UK after playing like high school in Turkey, like playing college in England. That was, to me, I was like, holy mother of God, this is physical. But not in a dirty way. Like I thought, like, growing up, playing was it was more physical in a dirty kind of way, like late hits and stuff like that. But I felt like the English game at the time was just based on physicality more than anything else. I mean, I remember like there would be like Gordon Milne actually went to like took that to the Turkish league, and all they did was cross the half line and put the ball in the box. And Les Ferdinand was the guy at the time, I remember, playing in Turkey and stuff like that. But it felt like one of those games that they just start, just using Beto and like late hits after the pass and stuff like that, just based on physicality. I just hope that it does not. Yeah, it is their cup final. Sparky is right, and it's a derby. It is going to be. That's why you throw the records out, because it becomes a totally different game. Like if Everton was, I don't know, like West Ham, and then we play them, the game does not get there because the emotion is not there. So hopefully it's not something. Yeah, there's a reason it has the most. Well, yeah, it just definitely lived up to its reputation, that's for sure. The situation is how you beat us home last season with the ref not blowing the whistle, and it was fine then, but when the shoe is underfoot, now it's wrong. Yes, I mean, I think I honestly could not tell you if that was late. I mean, obviously, since you're bringing it up, it must have been late. I just remember like it was definitely the last ball going into the box. If that gets cleared, I think it was McAllister, right? Like took the ball that was in the box. And I think I actually remember, now that you mentioned that, talking about that, saying that was extremely smart, because if he passes that ball back to like Trent or somebody like that to reload it into the box, the game was probably going to be over. So I remember exactly what you're saying now. I don't get me wrong, it might have been like past 30 seconds or a minute. I don't remember that portion of it. I do remember saying it was very smart for McAllister not to pass the ball back, but chip it in himself for like that cross kind of thing. I mean, it's probably designed to be condescending, but let's face it, what else are they playing for? This is their cup final. Well, what else do they have this season? They have nothing, and they have not had anything in quite a few seasons, right? I mean, especially once. I think they're like safe from relegation now. Now with Moyes have gotten them like a lot of points, like actual wins, 3 points and stuff like that. So I do think. I mean, this is it. This is it for them, and this happens honestly in any big rivalry. It happens. When all you have and all you can do to kind of make your fan base happy, I guess, is give it to your biggest rival, especially if it's hurting them in a title race. So, I mean, yeah, exactly. Like Aaron says, I mean, they celebrated like they won the Champions League. I think somebody posted a clip in our Discord server. The dude literally on Toffee TV said, at the end of the day, we won the game, because that's how it felt like them. A draw felt like a win to them. So, there is that. I know it's condescending, but just calling it as it is, really, if it is condescending, it's more on them than us calling it out, to be honest with you, in that sense. But yeah, I mean, who celebrates a draw like that? I mean, it was basically, yeah, I mean, it is the biggest game they have left for them. They look at the calendar, that this is their biggest game. What else? Like, if you're an Everton fan, which we can't get one on the panel for obvious reasons, but you know, like, you know, it's like, yeah, that is, it is pathetic. He literally said, he's like, at the end of the day, we won the game, because that's how it felt like to them. Saving a draw in the last minutes said it to them. The Goodison thing I get, but dude, I don't think it matters. If it wasn't at Goodison, I don't think it would matter, Peaches. I think it would be the same thing. It's all about, I don't know, like I say, I know this from growing up. Like, you know, Fenerbahce Galatasaray, right? You can have the crappy season, and to make up that season, all you got to do is beat Galatasaray. And it's the same thing for Galatasaray. They can have the crappy season, and to make up for the fans that, you know, they're already out of the title race, whatever there might be, you have one thing that you can circle in your calendar, and you can say, we can make it right that day. And I think this was their day. I mean, it is what it is. They just don't have anything else. And honestly, they have not had anything else in the last 3-4 seasons. So, and yeah, I mean, that's why, you know, that's why a derby game is like a huge deal, because, you know, here we go. Don't beat them at their ground next season. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. This game will hurt if it affects the title race, only because this is a second game. I find it very close. I talked about this in the post match yesterday too. I find it very close to the Newcastle away game. Maybe we didn't even deserve the win in some ways, but I was saying this yesterday, like, you almost escape with 3 points and you're out the door, and then the last guard sees you and he catches you, and you only get a point. So you have to leave the 2 points on the ground there. So I think that was basically probably the disappointing part about it. When you watch that game, I did not feel like, I know we are the team that's trying to play football. But that's, you know, that's strategy. That's what they're going to do and stuff like that. I understand. I mean, if all things equal, you look at the rosters, obviously Liverpool is a much better side. So if they open up and play, it's going to get ugly for them. Not everybody is Tottenham, right? But that's why, you know, the Spurs gets a lot of criticism, because they try to do that even when they don't have the squad for it, and they get punished. Whereas, you know, this is a lot more pragmatic. You're like, hey, how are we going to win this game? This is the only way we can win this game. So I'm not holding that against them. But I think in terms of, you know, we did not play good enough where I was like, man, that should have been like 4-1, 5-1 or something like that. It just was not. We just did not create enough. And I think we played their game. We played the game the way they wanted that game played. I think that's the problem I have. That's what I kind of like, you know, like, gets to me the most. I felt like we did it twice in a row. And I know the Plymouth game, which was even a bigger, you know, like more in that scale where they're not really trying to play. But that one, you could at least say it was a disconnected team, just like a second team, a lot of subs, people who have never played with each other and stuff. This one, I expected this team to kind of control the game, especially that midfield, and say, yeah, we're not playing your game, kind of a deal. See, I wasn't one of those, and I don't know if it was really. I don't think so. Maybe not. I mean, definitely not Liverpool fans in Liverpool, I would think, because they know better. I mean, the last, whenever we go to Goodison, like, I can't remember a lot of wins there, a lot of draws, a lot of 0-0s and stuff. Even when Klopp was around them, we were winning everything and stuff like that. So I think, you know, I know it's cliche, but you kind of throw it out the window. The records throw out the window, kind of thing. And I've been counting this game as a 1-pointer. So when we had the game in hand with 6 points, I always considered that 7 points. For, like, I've been talking about this over the last few months over here. I took that as a point in the bag at the worst case scenario. That's why when we were winning yesterday, that's why I was so, like, disappointed and pissed at Oliver, because if it was 9, I think if we're talking about 9-point difference right now, 7 out of 10 were draws, really. I mean, yeah, I knew it was not like in our favor in terms of Rex. Really, I think, yeah, then you're not looking at the schedule. You're just looking at a 6 points and a game in hand. I think the context of what that game was. Not only the derby, but like you were saying, like the last game at Goodison and stuff like that. But I still don't think a lot, like many, is still like an exaggeration. I think because especially after the Moyes and stuff. Honestly, though, when right we were about to play them, they were having kind of like a resurgence under Sean Dyche. You notice, like I'm trying to use better language in the mornings now. Otherwise, I would not call him by his name. But so even then we were like, we kind of like good. We're not playing them now, kind of a deal. But I don't know. I mean, if anybody did count it as a 3-pointer, they don't understand the Merseyside derby and don't know the history of it. Because if 7 out of 10 were draws, and I believe it, because it was close one. Okay, it was more. We're just gonna keep going down. But that's not many. Yeah, well, you got to bring facts, man. You got to bring numbers and stats to the show, so we can talk about it. But yeah, I think like if you took this as a 3-pointer, you don't know what the heck is going on. I always took it as a 1. That's why I was over the moon, because I really felt like if it was going to be 9 points, we'd be out in the clear in many ways. I know it's really early and stuff, but these 5 games, I was going for 11 points out of it. Well, now you got to win 3 out of the next 4. And one of them is, I mean, the Villa and City game. I hope. See, we keep saying this as fans. I hope the boys are not looking at it that way. I doubt it, but this Wolves game does look like a banana peel, doesn't it? Like, because you look at those games and you knew this was going to be tough, but winnable. On paper, Wolves game looks the easy. You're home, so that's another thing. But you're like Villa away. I just hope they don't look past this Wolves game, because it's a team that can hurt you on the counter. They do have some good players that can make an impact and stuff like that. But I do expect, if you're a Wolves fan right now, you're probably saying, damn it, because you would rather almost like have Liverpool win that game, go into that game 9 points in the lead, a bit more overconfident, as opposed to like a team that's coming off this now that's clearly pissed. And when you get pissed like this, and the only thing you can do is you can go out the next game and kind of take it out on the next guy. I mean, like I've been there, done that. It's just like, you guys are just victims, man. Just have to be in the crime scene. Bad time kind of a thing. But an early goal would be nice. I think it's just going to be a control game. I do think we do win this one. But then again, I thought we would win that one yesterday as well. I was really hoping the rest of the team would. Villa away will be tough. Because they have some guys now that can make an impact. But having said that, they don't defend very well. So you can score on them as well. It's just that you have to be sound defensively. I worry about how sound we are defensively lately. But I'm assuming Trent will be playing probably against Wolves. That's going to be interesting to see the right back situation, because there has to be some rotation there. You got to figure Trent was not ready for like not even 45 minutes. And I think the only reason he came in was because Bradley was, getting very close to a red card. I don't think Trent comes in. If Bradley doesn't have a yellow, I don't think Trent comes in yesterday. To be honest with you, it just felt like like a Trent in there is better than kind of like playing with Tank kind of a deal, which you could argue. I really felt when Trent came in, he would have an impact going forward. Not as much. A couple of like times where I was like, see, this is what we were missing in build up kind of a deal. And then we see the defending at the very end. Man, this kid could be the best right back ever if he really could defend or improve his defending game. But I think, it's coming to a point where, we've always talked about this, and I think a lot of it is effort, because I almost feel like a lot of defending is on effort. More than anything else. I mean, obviously, you got to be good, you got to be able to sense things and all that. I get that, but a lot of it is on effort. I just don't, I've never seen the effort, but I'm almost trying to start giving up the whole it's just effort thing. I think it's just not there. So I think against Wolves we might see Trent. Especially in a team where you're going to have to break it down and stuff like that. I would probably be okay with having Bradley at Villa and then Trent against City is what I would be hoping for in terms of rotation. But you don't know how like Trent responded to even playing yesterday and stuff like that. You're playing every 3 games, so it is going to be pretty tough over there. Hey, thanks a lot for hopping on, everybody, this morning. Give us a thumbs up. It does go a long way. I am finding out more and more because some of the videos we put out get some early thumbs up and it just goes all over the place. So, but yes, Peaches, you have to get on the panel show. You got to represent Forest. There's nobody there representing Forest right now. But some parting thoughts over here. At the end of the day, we are up by 7 points. I think I would be a lot more worried if this was City. And I think part of the reason I am not as worried as I normally would be, knowing me, is the fact that Arsenal has all these injuries. I can see, like, I can't see them having a run with missing so many players up top too. This was a team already struggling to score, right? So I can't really see them making a run where they win like freaking like 10 games straight and stuff. I just can't. So, but when you look at the schedule, it can get a bit more dicey before it gets like kind of like opens up again. So that's going to be interesting because yeah, Havertz does a lot. I can't stand it, dude. He has become this like really dirty player. I don't know. That's like the Arteta thing. We were talking about this the other morning, but Aaron says it could be Z deleting my comments. I doubt it. Z probably doesn't even know how. Even if I gave him the moderate thing, I don't know. Z would know how to delete the comments. To be fair to Z, so you can't blame him for that. But yeah, I mean, going back to Havertz, I think he does so much off the ball as well, defending and all that. They're going to miss that. They are going to miss his. I mean, he was the only physical guy they had really up top because you're going to have. I mean, you're going to have Sterling playing and stuff. So I just don't see. And here's another thing. I mean, they're going to go to these periods where they play over 3 games. They play the Champions League and stuff like that. I just don't think Arsenal will be able to handle it. And City, I'm not worried about anymore because that's way too many points to be worried about. So, I mean, we're talking right now 16 points. So if you're still worried about City, I mean, if you can't keep a 16-point lead, you don't deserve to win anything anyway. But I mean, Forest is 10 points. I think it's the same situation with Forest. I just don't know if they have the depth to be able to keep up. I mean, I don't know, like someone like Peaches, do you guys hold hope that like you never? It's more like a you never know kind of a thing, or they're like if this happens. But that is a good big game. I mean, that's Forest, Arsenal going to Forest away. That's a very very tough away game. We got away out of there with a draw and could have won it really. The Forest goal had like a great game that day, but that's a really tough place to go to, especially right now, the way they're playing. The anger isn't last night, more so with Fulham. Yeah, I mean, the Fulham not as much. But the Manchester United game, yes. Again, another team. Peach is gonna say I'm being condescending, but that was their season too, right? And like they have certain games that they have to come out and really play. And that's when I worry. I would worry as a fan when I see my team the way they played against Liverpool at Anfield. And I'm like, so when you guys really want to and focus, you guys can play a lot better. I mean, yeah, it is what it is, man. What are you gonna do? But yeah, I just want to avoid relegation, says Peaches. I'll be honest. We talked about this before. Like, if you go to our Discord server and look at the preseason guesses, quite a few people had Forest being relegated. Nobody saw this coming. I don't think Forest fans, in their wildest dreams, probably did not see this coming. But yeah, good on them. I mean, it's good to have Forest up there, and they do play good football. It's not like it's not all defensive or anything like that. I mean, they know what they have and they play to their strength. So that's the 40. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably, I mean, the most wild Forest fan was probably like top 10, maybe kind of a thing. They would have never thought. I really do think, especially 5 being Champions League, they will be in the Champions League, and that's pretty cool for us to be back in Europe, especially in the Champions League and stuff. We actually, yes, we did actually. Like, yeah, I mean, that was, yeah, it was a great goal, and we should have scored that game. You just didn't create enough, I remember. But I don't have a lot of problems with some of the points. Like, I don't know why, but I felt in the past I had more issues with some of the like the draws we got at home. Um, we haven't gotten those. I mean, like, look at some of the points we lost. So there's 7 games we lost points on. The loss is obviously Forest, right? Let's talk about the draws. The one yesterday, the Oliver draw, right? Um, Newcastle, you give it in the last freaking seconds. Another, like, basically 2 points you give away in the last second with a Keller mistake. And you gotta be able to be. I know he dropped the ball literally, and like, we lost 2 points over there, but he did extremely well while Ali was out, so you can't really, like, go back and, like, point your finger at him. Fulham, 10 men. Robo sold us against Fulham. We were horrific against. I can't remember the Fulham game as much. So what am I missing over here? The Fulham game where we're 10 men. I thought that showed a lot of grit and fight back, to be honest with you. Forest away, right? So Forest away, Fulham, Newcastle, Everton, Manchester United at home, and then Arsenal away. Yeah, out of all those, I mean, honestly, when you look at that, it's hard to say, oh, you got to win that. Really, it's hard to say. So I think this team has done really, really well in that sense. There's a lot of games that in the past, even over, like, in the last 4 or 5 years in the club era, where you looked and you said, oh, that's 3 points. And, you were like, what the hell happened? We couldn't open them up. We need number 10, blah, blah, blah. Like, all that talk back then. We haven't had those games. Well, knock on wood, let's not jinx it and have them now. But we haven't had those games. I mean, I just listed you the points that games that we lost points in. Fulham at home, yeah, normally you would say a win, but obviously, given the situation, that was actually, I thought, extremely well fought out, and I thought that's one of the games that gave me hope for this team, to be honest with you. And then Arsenal, actually, I thought we had no business getting points out of there, to be honest with you. I thought, especially the first half, it was horrific. But coming out of there with a draw was pretty darn impressive. And you can call the Manchester United game. That's probably one, because that's the bigger game for me overall, is United game, because I'm not from Liverpool, so it's means a lot more to me than the Merseyside. I think if you go out of Liverpool, that's like the bigger game for most. But that's one game I think that was disappointing, because you had a team that you should be able to beat. You're a lot better than. And again, we played the occasion, and I think that's the only thing that concerns me. Like, when we go back, if when Arsenal comes to Anfield and stuff like that, if that game has a meaning at that point, those are things that's the one thing that concerns me right now, is that sometimes we play the occasion more than the game. And you have too many leaders to kind of, like, fall into that trap. So hopefully that's something that we'll fix. Starts with this, I was going to say Saturday, but Sunday against Wolves, get the 3 points there, get things back on track. I don't expect Arsenal to drop points against Leicester, so it will go down to 4 points. Hopefully, the windows are closed, nobody's on the ledge or anything like that, because I think we will bounce back and make it 7 points again. And man, I mean, my brother's a United fan, and we were talking yesterday, and he said, and okay, like, and I'll ask you, like, Aaron and Peaches, Serzi, and so anybody in the audience right now commenting, if you're Arsenal, right? If we were Arsenal, if we were in their situation, you always have hope, right? As a fan, you always have hope. But how realistic of a hope would you have if, let's say, Mo is out, Diaz is out, and Jota is out for the rest of the season? Kind of. I think Saka is coming back, but you have so many players, like, out, and you're like. And here's another thing. I guess that's not even a good comparison, because when I did that, I still left Gakpo and Nunez and Chiesa and stuff in there. That's not who they have. I think our backups right now are better than their starters. Pretty, like, easy to say, really, right? Chiesa maybe is a question mark, but you would take Gakpo anytime, or I would think Gakpo just walks into their lineup. And honestly, I think Nunez walks into their lineup too. So it's not even a good comparison. But even with that comparison, we'd be like 7 points. We have to win over there. And you would think we have to close it down to less than 3 points before we go there, because I think there's only 2 games left after that. So you wouldn't have a lot of hope. But as the Liverpool fans, there's a lot of PTSD involved, and and I worry as a lifestyle anyway. So a lot to be concerned about in that sense. And I will be until this 5-game bonanza is over. I think once that's done, if we get the 11 points out of there, I think we're going to be in good shape. We never got to, I know she's still in the audience, but somebody asked a question, but we never got to it. That's a good discussion that we can have on another day in terms of like some of the best players on the bottom of the league. Doing pretty well despite their injuries, so you never know. I would normally hope Arsenal stuff, yeah. Really, there's a lot of Leicester hate there, huh? The way they keep calling about Nunez every window leads me to believe they feel the same. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I the Nunez thing, man. I love the dude, but again, some of the stuff he does, it's just like, what do you like? Yesterday, there was a moment I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like on the left, dribbling at a guy. Like some of the things, and I know he does not have the background, and like didn't go through like soccer camps and all that kind of stuff, like like Gakpo and stuff in Netherlands, like in terms of learning the science and stuff like that. But I just don't understand some of the things he does, because it looks like he's just playing for the first time. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that, like, if you did like a pickup game, you'd be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, just give Diaz the ball. Just give Diaz the ball and run to the middle. But no, like not. That just like a freaking yeah. Yeah, really rubbing in the lesser thing to a Forest fan over there. That's not cool. I kind of figured, and I guess those rivalries don't die, right? I thought, with the situation you guys are in, that's actually interesting. Like, would you rather have them relegated so you don't play them even? Is that more joy than playing them like now, where you clearly are a lot better team because Leicester is in shambles? Because, I mean, the way things are, and honestly, I think they're going down personally. I think Wolves stay. There's a huge gap now there. So that thing, basically, it's going to be 3 out of that 4. I wonder if Ipswich can pull something off. I doubt it, but why are you hating on the top 6, man? But yeah, I get it. I get it. Trust me. Yeah, Rude won like 2 games for United against Leicester, mind you, and then everybody thought he was like the biggest thing. And then like suddenly they freaking like he goes over there. I think he got like a draw or a win or something the first game. I know. Where's Anan? We'll talk to Anan tomorrow on the morning show, because he was like, Rude is gonna be the thing and stuff, and I don't think Rude is gonna be in the championship at this rate, but. Hey, that's it for me today. The boys will be up here tonight, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. Serzi, obviously, Mecca hosting with Serzi, Kazi, and Brian Shelton. I think everybody is on board tonight. And then I will be back tomorrow morning with Kazi and Anan as we get ready for the Wolves game. But hey, thanks a lot for all those keeping company this morning. Give us a like, a subscribe. If you're a Forest fan, you should be on that panel. If you're not a Forest fan, well, you don't want money on the panel. But do give us a like, a subscribe, and more importantly, go grab a friend and say, go watch these bozos. And that's all you need to do. Just have them come and watch. Once they watch, they're going to be hooked, I'm telling you. But probably not. But we'll see what happens. Hey, have a great Thursday. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Take care.